So can anybody list those commands out there here in the chat box, so that others who are attending this session for the very first time, they will understand how to create the app. Okay. So basically there are two requirements. You need to have Node.js installed in your system. Second thing, you need to have VS Code wherein you will open the project. Okay. Yeah. So npx create app is a command, and npm start is a command to run the app, and you will be able to see the running app of React.js. Fine. So today we are going to cover few things which is called as React lifecycle. Okay. So React lifecycle is something. So whenever you want to learn any framework, so every framework has its lifecycle, how it is going to work, how it is going to behave. Like we are as a human being, we also have a life cycle, our daily routine kind of stuff. Okay, so I'm going to correlate that concept, which will help you out. Okay, so then we are also going to learn what are DOM elements, because that is where React makes its magic. Okay, so React is doing a lot of things with this DOM, so that is what we are going to cover. And then we are going to move forward with the components and elements and components actually, and then we are going to learn props. So there is a concept called as props, which is actually properties of React. So it is also known as props. AK is also known as. And then last point we are going to learn today is state. Okay, how we are going to manage the state. So fundamentally, actually, we are going to learn it conceptually today, and the implementation part is what we are going to do tomorrow. Okay, so that is where we are going to stop today. Okay, so just I want all of you to take notepad and pen with you, so that you will anything if you like. Don't forget to share your the aha moments in the chat box. If you find something new, if you find something really useful for you, put aha into the chat box so that other people will get to know that this is what something new, right? Yes. So let's get started. So what React lifecycle is? What is this? What lifecycle React follows actually? So that is what we are going to learn. So as I rightly said, so every individual is having your daily routine like kind of this. So how many of you can correlate with this? What is this? Yes, what you can understand by the image on the left hand side. Yes, what is that? Any guesses? Yeah, no, there is Brunalin, you missed one. So there are 4 stages. You missed one. The second one, exercise. Yeah. 8 lift, so 8 sleeping. Swaraj, you okay? That is you're talking about yourself. Okay, Swaraj. Okay, fine. That's okay, Swaraj. Not an issue. Okay, so it's 8 lift, sleep, and repeat. So that's fine. So see, first you're gonna eat, then you're gonna lift, then you're gonna sleep, and the same cycle is gonna repeat. Same thing is gonna happen with React as well. React will first do these things. Okay, first it will initialize. First it will initialize the component. Then we are going to mount the component on the view, whatever the front view we are going to learn that what kind of view we will be creating. And it will mount the component on the HTML page, and it will update the component. Existing thing, it will update. And once the work is done, whenever we want to load the another component, the existing component will unmount. Okay, so that's the overall life cycle of React. So this is just a kind of a framework way. Let's go and deep dive into it. Okay, so take a note of this thing, that component in React, the components will initialize, then we will mount those components onto the DOM. So that concept I will teach you what is DOM and exactly. So on the HTML page, the component will mount, then we will update the data. Okay, and on that component, and then we'll unmount, we will remove the data, or we will remove the component world, not data. We'll remove everything. Okay, so that is what React lifecycle does from the broader perspective. Okay, so let's go and deep dive into it, what exactly it does. Okay, so what it does, so in initialization, so we are going to learn these two concepts, props and states. Okay, so in initialization, what it does is it sets up props and states. So in props is kind of props are kind of variables or the data which we are going to send from one component to another component. Okay, so we'll go and take a deep dive into that as well. So first, try to understand in initialization, in a first stage, which is initialization. So what we do is we set up props and state. In second stage, in mounting, what we do is, so once we have the data, once we initialize the component and along with props and state, so what we do is we'll go and mount the component. Okay, so so this component will mount is component is about to mount. Okay, and render is the function which will actually show the component on HTML page, that is on browser, not on HTML page, on browser. So render function will show the data on the browser. Okay, and then this component did check as a function to check if it is actually mounted over there or not. Okay, so that is about mounting. Okay, so same thing is going to happen with unmounting actually. So I'm just skipping the updation part because that is a different one, that is not correlated. So I can directly jump on unmounting. So in unmounting, before actually removing that component, so this function will get called, component will unmount, and then component will remove from the page wherever it was. Okay, now let's come to the updation part. Okay, so actually this is sequence. Actually, I just help you with unmounting because mounting and unmounting are correlated. Mounting means adding the component on the page. Unmounting means removing the same component from the page. Okay, so that's why I took it along with mounting. Okay, so now let's come back. So first we will initialize the component, we'll mount the component. Third stage, we will update it. Okay, so we will update the component using two ways, using props and using states, or so either or sometimes we do it along with props and states both. Okay, so now what is props, what is states, just hold on. So in next few slides you will understand that. But life cycle is something which is the fundamental thing, and then we are going to learn. So actually I wanted to we will cover this concept of updation in hands-on way by implementing the things actually. So but till now try to understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so props, so component will receive props first. Props is, just try to understand, props is a kind of data or kind of arguments that we are going to pass to a function. Okay, props is a kind of variable, it's not a variable actually, so it's kind of a data that we are going to pass from one component to another, that is props. Okay, so component will receive props, and it should so there will be a function which will trigger. So it is happening. So all the functions that you are seeing on the screen, they are not the functions we are going to write. Okay, those are inbuilt function which will get executed when we will call them. Okay, so the implementation of those functions is already written in React library. Okay, we just need to make the call to them. Okay, so that's and there are a couple of other things along with that. These functions will automatically get called. Okay, so now if the second step of this process, if should component update, so if yes, then it will update a component. If no, then it will stop wherever it is. Okay, and then see, after updating, then the render function will call, and render function will execute or will show the updated data. Okay, like let's say an example. Okay, so how many of you are cricket lovers over here? Give me yes quickly into the chat box. So whenever you go and watch the cricket score on online websites, like I personally, my personal favorite is CricBuzz. Okay, so whenever we go there, and when they only, so the whole page is same, but they are just updating the number of the or the score of the person, the player, right? So updating only one thing, and they're just showing the data. They're not loading whole page. They're just updating that small component, right? So that is what I'm talking about. Okay, so if the component is updated, then it will show on the screen, and then the render will happen. Okay, so that is about props. And state, again, state is something, in state we don't need to receive the props. Okay, that's the only thing, otherwise it is almost similar. So the variable will change the state, or the states will update the value, and then that updated value will be rendered on the screen. Okay, and then once the job of that okay, whenever you want to load another function or another component on the same page, we will remove first component and we'll load the another one. Okay, so that removing will happen in unmounting. Everybody clear with this? Any questions into this quickly? Yeah, we have 30 participants over here. So this is just an it is very vague kind of thing which you are learning right now, that is props and states. So you will understand first. Right now, if anybody is going to ask what is life cycle, there are 4 things. What are 4 things? Type it there in chat box. Yeah, so that is what I have shown you in the beginning. Okay, but these are internal things which you need to know. Okay, so I'm just not giving you the basic stuff. I just wanted to understand in detail. Okay, so this is about life cycle. Now let's move forward to learn what is exactly DOM. Now everything what we saw, loading the component, adding the value, updating the value, and removing the component, everything is going to happen on DOM. Now before understanding React, you need to know what is DOM. How many of you are here who doesn't know what DOM is? Yeah, perfect, Kalyani. Perfect. So I like this summarization. Yeah, you can keep doing over here, but I want you to take notes as well. Okay. So do we have anybody over here who doesn't know anything about DOM, document object model? So there are two people over here, Suraj and Swaraj. Anybody else? So be frank, be open. It's not a test. Okay. So if I got to know that you don't know, I'll put more efforts from my side to tell you that what exactly it is. If everybody knows, I can skip the slide, I can move forward. I have see. So be frank, be open. It's not like I'm not going to judge you, right? See, ultimately my goal is to help you to get into the IT world. If you don't know the concept and if you don't tell me, like I'm a doctor, if you're not going to tell me what problem you are having, how I'll treat you, right? So that's why be open, be frank, and just do let me know whenever I'm going to ask you any sort of questions. Okay, so let's get the understanding of DOM. Okay, so as names, the full form you might have seen it on the why it is coming, man. So document object model is a, so that is a DOM, document object model. What exactly I'm going to show you with the example. There is one next small example I'm having. Okay, it is a programming interface for HTML and XML documents. Okay, so what do I mean by HTML document? Forget about the XML right now. HTML documents are where we have header tag, right? Head, so beginning with HTML, then head, body, then H1, H2, whatever the tags we used to use in HTML document. So it is an interface, it is a programming interface that for HTML and XML document. Why do we need DOM? Because it represents the page. So it represents the page in the form of DOM because programs can change the document structure, style, and the content. Okay, so if you want to do any change in your HTML page, okay, with the help of program, HTML page will not allow us to change the data. For that, we need to have the DOM. Okay, so actually once your HTML is loaded, so actually it is internally having a DOM. So DOM is nothing but the logical tree representation of the HTML page in the form of logical tree. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Here is an example. Okay, so now we have an HTML document wherein we have wrote this kind of code, like HTML is the beginning, the bigger tag. Inside that there is head, inside that there is a title, and head is closing over here. This is one leg of a tree. Second leg of tree is body. Where is my mouse? Second leg of this tree is body. So you just try to understand from here. Okay, so body, and in body there are a couple of headers, couple of divs, and two paragraph, right? So same structure, the HTML document, when we want to when JavaScript, or right now we are going to use React, so it is again having JavaScript itself. So when JavaScript want to change the content from your HTML page, so these tags, or directly we can't do the changes in HTML, okay, because we change the HTML, the whole file will reload, or whole file will change, right? So we don't need to do that. We only need to change the div, right? So in that case, I'll go and I'll parse the document. Okay, so I'll not go from here, line number 1. I'll directly go to line number 9, and from line number 9, I'll change whatever I want. Okay, so that is possible only because we have a DOM with us. So it is, we are just in the runtime, we are converting this HTML into DOM, and that DOM, we are accessing that DOM using JavaScript, and we are modifying it. And then we are, so how to access DOM? So you can access the DOM with the help of tags. Sorry. So DOM will help us to access the HTML pages because in HTML we are having tags, we are having IDs to all the tags, and we are also we also pass classes to the HTML tags, right? So I'm not going to explain what is ID, what is class, what is tag and element and all. So that, because it's not HTML CSS kind of class. Okay, I'm expecting at least you should know how we, like here we have provided ID, and in the same way, if you want to add, so there is a class, so it will be written in .css file. We are not going to go in .css. So that is what the document object model is. Okay, so it is just, in simple word, it is a representation of HTML into a tree like structure, so that whenever we want to go deeper and we want to change the root, or the the small content of whole page, so that time DOM will help us. Okay, so here we are going to use binary search kind of algorithm, not exactly, I'm just kidding. Okay, so it will go and directly check. So this div, there is paragraph inside div, and it is there in this page. Okay, So in HTML kind of stuff, we will not be doing that. Okay. So everybody clear with DOM? Yeah, what exactly DOM is. So nobody is going to ask you, by the way, in the interviews, what is DOM, because it is so outdated. So nowadays nobody cares, because I don't know. I never gave a front end kind of interview, so I don't know. But people might be asking in front end developers interview. Fine. So this is a very important point before going forward, because if you don't know DOM, later on I'm going to every time I'm going to say it, it will change the DOM. It will change the DOM. So you will not understand what exactly it is going to change. Okay. So whenever I'm going to say it is going to change the DOM, it is going to change one small element of whole page sometimes. Okay. So just try to understand this thing. Okay. So this is about DOM. So now how this DOM exactly going to help us, or why we added it, and what exactly it is going to do is it is going to help us to get the specific element of the page. That's it. Okay. Now let's come to the React part. Now what is exciting in React? Okay. So there is a problem in DOM actually. So normal DOM is not that efficient. Let me just give an example. Like I have shown a problem over here. Okay. So now imagine, like, let's take an example of that crickbuzz.com, whatever the website name is. So there is a list of players, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 players, right? First 5 players are already out. Okay, their score is steady. The score is not going to change. Okay, now 6 and 7 player are playing, and their score is updating continuously. Okay, now with normal DOM, what will happen is, so if you want to change the one row, like suppose there are 10 records, like list of items. So the same example I have illustrated over there. You read it and just try to understand what I'm trying to explain. Okay, so there are 10 players, 10 names of the players. 5 of them are already out. Okay, others 6 and 7 player is playing, and the score of that player, because that player is playing, the score is updating continuously on every ball, right? So this is a document, the whole document where the list of the players is there. Now if you have to change only one box of that whole document, it is not recommended to reload the everything, because what DOM used to do is, so whenever the item change, it used to reload the DOM. Okay, new structure of DOM was getting added. Okay, so for creating dynamic UI, so this is just kind of example which I give, where the data is changing dynamically. Okay, every time the data is changing according to the scores that is coming, or according to value that is coming in on the client side. Client side means your browser. Okay, so that is for dynamic UI. DOM is not optimized solution, because if you want to change one record, DOM will reload again, and it will consume a lot of time, and a lot of resources will be consumed. Okay, so yeah, while performing update, DOM will rebuild entire list. That's the problem. Okay, so now what is the solution of it? So React and Angular both are having it actually. So Angular does it in a different way. It's in Angular it's not virtual DOM, but React has came up with a concept called as virtual DOM. What do I mean by that? So virtual DOM is actually the lightweight copy of DOM. The whatever DOM I have shown you, the tree-like structure. So it will create a virtual copy of that structure. Okay, and it will go and update only one thing. And once the data is updated, it will put in the actual DOM. Okay, so you can see on somewhere. So yeah, so the DOM can be changed as and when we want, and then it can be saved to the real DOM. Okay, so that is what the React is going to help us. Okay, it will create a virtual DOM of same structure, same copy of the existing DOM, and there we will update the data. Once the data is done, once the updation is done, once we are done, we will put, it's like taking the whole I'm not getting it. Let's take an example. It's like drawing competition, taking the picture sheet of other person, drawing it and keeping it back. Okay, so that kind of stuff this React is doing. Okay, so and whenever changes occurs, virtual DOM renders DOM, and it is much faster. Okay, so it is much faster than our existing DOM, which was used in back then. I don't know when the time when Angular came into picture and the React came into picture. So these sort of things are not happening right now. Okay, so the people who used to do the development in JSP and kind of that older technologies, so that time it was a problem. Okay, we need to reload everything. I never done work with JSP actually, because when I started in 2017, actually I directly started working with Angular JS, by the way. That time Angular was just new in 17. Fine. So that is about virtual DOM, and virtual document object has same property as real DOM. So that is absolutely fine. And look at the thing. So this virtual DOM, okay, not virtual DOM, actually I'm talking about React. So virtual DOM is a concept of React, and this React is commonly used in these three giants. Okay, so if you know React, there are plenty of opportunities that these companies are going to offer you because they are doing the development. Okay, so Facebook's new UI, you might have seen, they have changed the UI, I guess 2-3 months back. I don't know, I just got an update of that, so it has changed everything, and that is built with the React. Okay, so everybody, you just go and check it out. That is your task. Write down a task. I want a list of famous websites, or famous companies, or the biggest companies, 5 companies who are using React for their applications. Okay, so I want the list of 5 applications of bigger companies who are using React. Okay, so everybody got your thing. So first try to understand. Everybody got the concept of React DOM? Sorry, virtual DOM. Yes. Any questions into this virtual DOM kind of thing? Yep. If you have any questions, do ask. Okay, so here itself you have to clear your doubt, otherwise you will not get time to understand the things. Okay, so I'm just, meanwhile I'm starting npm start my app, so that we will do some hands-on on this, and I'm going to explain you what exactly it is in after we cover the next topic. Okay, so there is a whiteboard where I'm looking. So next topic is there listed out. Fine. So Twitter uses ReactJS. Okay, only one. I want 5. Not today. I want you, all of you, to put the list of 5 real-time, big applications of big companies who are using ReactJS on the group. Okay, so this is today's task for everybody. Okay, fine. Let's go and let's learn the next concept. Okay, so I hope everybody is clear with this. Fine. So next is React features. What React features are? So there are only 2 things. React is all about components. Everything in React is component. There is nothing else than component. Okay, so component is very integral part. Okay, so because see, let me give an example of this page itself. Okay, so whatever you're seeing on the screen, right? So this Stake Amplifier's logo is one component. The name is one component, logo is another component. Okay, and these 2 components are added inside a bigger component. Okay, and then this heading React features is another component. Okay, and then this whole details kind of description, whatever it is another component. That is how React creates the page. Okay, so React doesn't do the things in the older way, like you need to create whole one by one. Okay, it is nothing like that. Okay, it is nothing like that in the React, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay, so that is very fantastic stuff that React is having. So you just need to go and connect, build the application with this, you will understand. Okay, so I'm going to show you the demo as well. Yesterday we created our app was launched, and I'm going to show you how we are loading the components and all of this stuff. Okay, so it is all about components. Easier to maintain larger apps, because so components will help us to maintain larger apps. Okay, and there is one more feature of React, is it is using JSX. JavaScript is a different one. So JSX is an extension of JavaScript. Okay, so it is an optional feature actually. React can be used without JSX as well. Okay, it is not mandatory to use JSX. You can use plain vanilla JavaScript and it will work. Okay, we also did a couple of projects with plain vanilla JavaScript. Okay, so it is an optional feature in React, that is JavaScript syntax extension. Okay, so React is using inline templating, and so inline templating, I'll talk about that inline templating. And because of that, inline templating is like using HTML tags inside a JavaScript. Okay, so that is kind of so those who are in the development field from very long time, so that is that kind of syntax is a bit awkward for some of the developers. Okay, so that's a note I found I wanted to tell you, right? So that's why I added that. Fine, so these are only 2 things, but there are a couple more things which we want to discuss about JavaScript. JSX. Okay, so JSX is an inline markup that looks like HTML. Okay, so it is an inline markup that looks like HTML, but that get transformed into JavaScript. Okay, so it is an HTML, it looks like HTML, but it gets transformed into JavaScript. Okay, so it basically what it does is it starts with a HTML like tag, but it ends with corresponding closing tag. and ends with corresponding closing tag. So see, in HTML we are allowed to create our own tags, right? You might be knowing. Okay, I can create a tag in my file whose name is Akshay, starting tag and ending tag with Akshay. Okay, in between that whatever I'll write. Okay, but in React, okay, so we don't need to every time write anything in between. Okay, so if you only mention that tag and we go and create a component for that name, okay, and in that component if we load all the data, so everything will get added. I'll show you an example. Okay, so yeah, so here it is. So here is an example, like this is what you can't do in HTML. Okay, so this is the example of JSX. Like here const is an data type in not data type actually. So so let and const and var is kind of, you can call it data type actually if you want. So but keyword, yeah, you can call it keyword. So data type is like in JavaScript there is nothing called as int, there is nothing called as char, there is nothing called as string and kind of thing. Whatever you will place before after variable, it is the type of that variable will be integer, or the type of that variable will be string. Okay, so there are a couple of keywords that we use along with variables, that is let, const and var in JavaScript I'm talking about. Okay, so const means data will not change. Once the data is const is a short form for constant. Okay, so there is a variable called as element, and that is having the value called value as h1 tag inside that hello world. Okay, this is only value it is having, and this element variable I'm going to use in my HTML directly. Okay, so and that, so I'll show you how we are going to do it. Actually there are a couple of examples I'm having. Okay, so this syntax, actually this sort of syntax is from JSX, and it is intended to use by the preprocessors such as Babel. Okay, so this is one of the preprocessor, right? Okay, so to transfer HTML like text into standard JavaScript object. Okay, so this text you're looking, it is looking like a HTML. Okay, but this Babel is going to transform it into a JavaScript object. Okay, so how it is going to, how it does internally, I don't know. I never went inside the preprocessor, I never did that stuff, but I know for the fact it is going to transfer into JavaScript object, it is going to render on the UI, and that is what we are going to get at the result. What happens internally, you should not care about, right? So those who are really curious what happens internally, go and read it. Okay, so preprocess is something which is which was the most hated subject when I was in third year or final. I don't know where it was. Anybody over here who hates kind of, you know, that sort of subject where you need to do move a comma b, and I don't know what was that, but I hated that a lot. Yeah, so we have Swaraj with me, we have Samruddhi as well. Okay, I forgot the name of the subject as well. Assembly language, yes, microprocessor, MIT, microprocessor and interfacing technologies. I guess that was the name, right? Fine. So so that happens internally. I don't know what it does. Yeah, MIT was there, I guess, at my time. So names and all the things changed later on. Fine. So this is an example. That is how we are going to do the coding going forward. Okay. So now let's move towards the next concept. That is why that we only discuss about JSX. Now let's try to understand how we can use JSX or React with JSX. Okay. So React uses JSX instead of regular JavaScript. Okay. We, as I told you in the beginning, we can use or we can use only JavaScript in React, or we can use JSX, anything. Okay, so it is not mandatory to use only JavaScript, but why you need to use JavaScript extension is because it is having a couple of advantages. Because it is faster, because it performs optimization while compiling the code to JavaScript. Okay, so in normal JavaScript you can't do something you know, writing HTML tag in front of that, and you can't actually there is no feasibility of doing a couple of things in normal JavaScript. That's why this new extension has added, and that is what React is using. Okay, so it is type safe, and most of the errors can be caught during compilation. Okay, so in actually in JavaScript you there is no such a thing called as compilation, and in React also it is not there. So we'll just directly go and execute, but it is type safe actually, and it will help us to see the errors, and so we don't need to explicitly compile like we used to do in Java and C++. The IDE that we are using is smart enough that it will help us to understand the errors, what all errors that it is having in the code. Okay, you don't need to worry about, you know, Java C compile and then run. Okay, that sort of stuff is not there. Now we are learning advanced concept. Okay, there is only one thing we are going to fire in the back in the terminal, npm start. our app will be running, we'll be doing coding. Once the change is done, the code, Node.js will automatically load. You don't need to fire the command again and again, like we used to do in Java and C++. Okay, so you don't need to do like that. Even in Python, we used to do that. So whenever you change anything, you don't need to reload the server, or you don't need to execute the code again. Once you keep the server running, it will run forever, whatever, unless there is no error in the code. Once the error is there, the server will stop or it will break. Okay, so yeah. So, and it is easier and faster to write templates if you are familiar with HTML. So do we have anybody over here who is not familiar with HTML tags or HTML? Yes. Do we have anybody over here? So if you are there, so it is not something for you. Okay, you will not understand what I'm talking about from next 4 or 5 days. I don't know how many days we are going to stay together. 8 days, right? So the basic thing is, so it is easier and faster to write template if you are familiar with HTML. Okay, and do you know that? So this is kind of a thing which you should know actually. That's why it is asking, like, do you know that? So it is not mandatory to use JSX, as I already said as well. Okay, so you can use React along with normal JavaScript. JSX is not mandatory, but React would be more elegant if JSX is used. Okay, if the combination of these two is really perfect. Okay, so that's why most of the people out there, they're using JSX into the code, or they're doing the development using this thing. Okay, so it is nothing. JSX is nothing but having HTML kind of structure in your code. Okay, so you don't need to change the extension. Couple of people are doing the code using that .js extension. If you keep normal JavaScript extension, and if you write the same JSX code into that, it will also work. You don't need to actually go and change the extension. Okay, so that is a different, I don't know, I have seen in a couple of tutorials, I guess. So people were doing this kind of stuff. That is not recommended. Okay, so yeah, so we are going to use JSX. Okay, fine. So let's learn the building blocks of React. Now we talked about why, what is DOM. We covered a lot of things. Can anybody list out the concept that we learned till now? Okay, we learned life cycle, what exactly it is. Then XYZ things we learn. Now next point is these are the building blocks. Okay, without components, without elements, without props, without states, React is nothing. Okay, so React is all about component, as I said, but in order to render components, we need elements. Element is small part of component actually, and in order to pass the data to the component, we need props, we need states. Okay, functions, those are there in JavaScript as well, but we are also going to use functions to write our logical code. Okay, logics we will build inside a function, and that will happen over the period of time. Okay, so these are 5 building blocks. Let's go and take a deep dive into each and everything. So before going forward, I want all of you, I want to ask, are you clear with everything which we covered till now? Any questions till now? Okay, ask me if you have any questions. Type in there if you have any questions. No? Perfect. 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 Difference between props and states, we are going to cover it. Don't worry. We are going to cover it. So we are going to start with components, then elements, then props, and then states. Okay. Hold on a minute. Okay, fine. So let's get started. Are you guys getting bored? Tell us about JSX again. So JSX is nothing but the JavaScript code along with HTML syntax. Okay, that's it. So in simple word, so JSX is all about JavaScript code along with HTML, the merging of JavaScript and HTML. Okay, so you can use. So we'll talk about that extension of JavaScript. Yes, so extension of JavaScript, but the extension, it means it allows us to have HTML kind of structure in the JavaScript code. That's it. Okay, thank you, Tanya, for helping him out. Okay, so let's go and learn what component is, and then from here onwards, we will go and shift to the ID which we have installed yesterday, and where we will do the coding. Okay, actually implementation stuff. Okay, so what do I mean by components? So elements and components are the same kind of stuff. So element is a small part of component actually. So whatever we saw earlier, the example where const element is equal to in HTML tag h1 and whatever hello world and h1 close. So that was an element because it was a small component. Okay, it was a small thing. So but if we have something at a larger level where there are multiple elements inside a wrapped thing. So that is called as component. Okay, so let's understand what the component from the nodes which I have created for you. Okay, components will let you split UI into independent, okay, reusable pieces, and think about each piece in isolation. So that is not something you should worry about. So there are two things which React does is it splits UI, that is whatever you are seeing on the screen on the browser, into independent and reusable pieces. Okay, it means let me take you back to the example of the ClickBuzz website which we have seen. Okay, so that website was having 10 records. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Okay, so each of the row is treated as a different element. Okay, so that is a different element, but on the page in the middle part you are seeing score, on the left hand or right hand side there must be something else. Okay, so on the there will be header is a component. Okay, footer is a different component, and if the batting lineup, and below that there will be bowling lineup, right? How many balls, who is bowling right now, so that is a different component. Okay, the whole the big part or the small chunk of a UI is called as component. Okay, and the working or the functionality of this batting score will be a different, there will be different code running behind that, and for bowling there will be different code running, because in here we don't need to increase the score by incrementing it by 1, we need to add 0.1 to every score, whatever it is. Okay, and we also need to maintain on that ball how much was the score, whether it is 0 1 2 or 4, right? So that is what we do, or I'll give an example. Let me just finish this stuff. Okay, so it is an independent and reusable pieces. It will divide the screen, and components are just like JavaScript functions conceptually, but not actually. So it is in components we are actually going to write the HTML tags, and we will render those tags whenever we are going to call those components. Okay, it is not, it is conceptually it is like JavaScript function. Okay, the syntax will be almost similar, but we are going to do some extra stuff. Okay, they accept these components accept arbitrary inputs like called as props. Okay, so we'll talk about that props. So props, for now try to understand, props are something which we are passing as a parameter to a function. Okay, so we are going to pass the parameter to the function, and that we are going to use. Okay, not parameter is where we are calling, so function arguments. Okay, so those sometimes I myself got confused. Fine. So whenever you are going to call a function, whatever you are going to pass as an argument, the value you are going to pass to that function is called as props. Okay, we will see that is as well in detail. Okay, and it returns React element describing that what should appear on the screen. React elements means what? It is going to return us the JSX script. Okay, so there will be JavaScript wherein in that there will be tags, and tags will be actually components or actually elements. Okay, so there will be a component, and inside that there will be small elements, and that elements will render whenever we will call the component. Okay, so that is what component is all about, and elements are the smallest building blocks of React apps. Okay, so now let's go and try to understand, or let me just finish the next concept where we are having actually code, and then we'll go back. Okay, so now let's talk about React props. Somebody was asking what is props, and somebody let me just quickly check in the chat box. Not here. Where is the chat box? Yeah, now it has appeared. Okay, so we were having somebody over here. Yeah, Vinay. So states we will cover later on. So first we are going to cover props. Okay, so props, when you define component, it can be defined with or without attributes. Okay, so whenever we have, so there is an example where we have defined a component with props. Okay, so this is a welcome component. Okay, take a look at this. Okay, this is a welcome component. In that component, we are passing a variable called as props. So it is a parameter, and we are getting the value, and these props containing some values that we are trying to access using these curly brackets. Okay, so it will be, if props is passed as Akshay, I'll see it as Akshay. Okay, and it will render the element on the screen. I'll give an example. We'll try this one. Okay, and now see, this is a component. Okay, and this component we have created tag of that, and we pass the parameter. Okay, name is equal to Jerry, and that is what is passed, and then this after this component is calling this, and here we are passing these props. So props contains name colon Jerry. Okay, so props will be the key and value pair. Okay, so it might be written somewhere down there. Fine. So props will be always in the form of key and value. Okay, so key is name and value is Jerry. Okay, that is what we are passing to the component called as welcome, and in that we are returning the HTML tag actually, which is what indicates that this particular file where we are going to write it is not plain vanilla JS JavaScript, it is a JSX. Okay, we don't need to explicitly write about like JavaScript extension JSX. Okay, so here, and this element, once this see now this welcome is not only having the welcome tag, it is also having the h1 tag, that is actually it is having, and this element we are trying to render on the screen on the UI, wherein this element has passed over here, and where we are going to render it, element will be rendered on the place where whose ID is root. Okay, so I'll show you this example. Okay, so let's get back. So I'll come up or let me just finish these 2 points. You could see, yeah, that is what they have mentioned. Data in props can be accessed using this dot props. Okay, so props and can be used in render. Okay, so there are 2 types of components actually, function component and class component. Okay, so when we are using class component, that time we are going to use this dot props. Right now, if you see, we haven't used this dot props. Okay, because it is a function component. There is another type called as class component. In that we are going to use this dot props. Okay, and can be used in render function or render method to update the dynamic data. In simple words, props are like parameters to the component. Okay, so we are going to pass the parameters to the component, and that parameters will help us to pass the data to the next wherever we are going to call that. Okay, fine. So let's go and try to understand it from the conceptual perspective. So we are having over here, let me just quickly share my what is that, the not PyCharm, what is this one, code, VS Code. Okay, so here if you observe carefully, see what is happening over here. Okay, so let me just quickly route you through all the pages. Or yesterday itself I talked about this index.html. Okay, so here we change the name. Now try to understand. Here there is a div, inside that body there is nothing. Okay, so everything is empty. Let me just remove the comment. Okay, they might have given you, go and read it first. Okay, you need to read it since it's your first time. Okay, so now, so look at the code. Let me just remove. Actually, it is nothing. There is nothing in the code. Okay, so everything is just the plain simple one thing that they have added is, yeah. So this is, let me just close this head. Okay, head tag is there, and there must be a title, and there is a body tag. Inside that body, nothing is there. Only no script tag has added, because you need to enable JavaScript to run this app. That is what they're telling, and we don't need this as well. Okay, so I'm just having this div called as ID is equal to root. Okay, so actually that no script tag is user defined tag, so that is that will not affect your code. Okay, and now your code is running over here, where is you're seeing this kind of thing. It's because in your body there is only root. See, ID is equal to root, and inside that div there is nothing. Still you are able to see this background color, you are able to see this picture, and you are able to see everything, and there is link as well. Okay, which is redirecting to react.os. Okay, let me just quickly check. We'll finish it in a minute because I have to attend another session where I'm going to learn. Okay, so I'll finish it out in a minute. Okay, so from here what it is happening is, it is going to call the index.js, because you know the files, the JS and index.html are correlated. In index.js we have already imported somewhere. In HTML we have imported index.js. Let me just quickly show you. Have we done that? I guess no. Fine, but anyways, it is going to call the index.js. I don't know why it is not there. We will call it using ID. Okay, yes. So in index.js, actually this will render first, and so the document will get accessed. The document will get accessed using the ID, and where we are fetching the ID of the tag, fetching the tag whose ID is root. Okay, so in index.html we are having the only one div, and which is having ID. This will get, so everything whatever we are going to do with this render function, this is the render function, will get rendered on the place of this. If you add something over here, it will not make any sense. Okay, if I add over here anything, so it will not affect my DOM. Okay, it is not going to change anything from this. Okay, nothing has changed even though I add anything in our HTML. Okay, so nothing will change. So why it is happening? Because the whole div is getting replaced. This div is getting replaced by the things which we are rendering from here. Okay, what we are rendering? We are rendering app. Okay, so this react.stick mode is another component where we have allowed we have any what we can say, we have forced this application to load only this thing, app. Okay, so app will get loaded into, so this is the first parameter of the function which we have seen. See, this is the function react dom.render. Element is our element, and then we are doing document.get element by id hyphen root. Okay, so now this is the same thing actually. So if I quickly show you, so this is, they just did to maintain the flow of what, the flow of HTML or the syntax, how they, so this is the first element, the whole element, comma, the document.get element by id, and the last bracket was here, so I will not add it there. So the same thing is over here. Okay, so that is what they're doing. Okay, now in app they're doing a lot more things. Actually, it is not as simple as that. Okay, see, I'm saving the code, but it will not affect the thing. We have app.html, not app.html, app.js over here. Okay, this JS is doing everything. Now here, so this, what that index.js is doing is, it is loading app. Inside that app, so app is again a component. I told you, in React everything is all about component. Okay, so app is a component. This app contains everything that we are seeing on the screen. What? See, the logo that you are seeing, if I remove this image, the logo will be gone. I don't need that actually. So I'm saving it, and you can see which logo is gone. Nothing has gone. Wait a minute, what happened? No, that href is coming from here. Yeah, it should go right. Logo is not defined but never used. Okay, that is okay. Do I need to refresh? No, I don't think so. Yeah, actually the image was there in a cache. The browser contains cache, so that's why it was there. Okay, so it is gone. So that is what we did. So everything is loading from here. Now if I want to do something like here, so this is what they are doing. This is paragraph tag. Hi, this is my first app. Okay, so see, I'm just saving the code. Look at the thing, I'm saving the code and I haven't run the code. I just saved it. Okay, and it has changed. Okay, so now how to check if your code is saved or not? Those who are using this ID for the very first time, just try to understand. If I do anything over here, look at this cross over here. Okay, if I try to change anything from here, it will turn out to the circle. Okay, not, it's not circle, kind of a different. Circle is hollow, the whole circle, right? So if I save the code, then this will be this will go away and there will be a cross. Okay, so that so those who are like yesterday itself I was dealing with one of the student, and that's when I got to know. A couple of people who are really new to this ID, they might not know. That's what I'm telling. Fine. So, and here is the link which we are seeing down there, the React learning link. It is this. So I don't need to have any sort of link on my page. So let me just have it only this, and you can see this is what I'm having on the thing. Now you will be asking, why it is in the middle, why there is CSS, why there is a color. Actually, the CSS is getting applied because we have imported app.css into it, and app.css is talking about app should be aligned to the center. There should be a logo which is coming, so which we are not using it, by the way, and the app header should contain this color. Okay, the background color of this, if I go and change it to something called as red, orange area, red, and if I go and save this, see, it is not saved. Okay, so if I save it, it will turn to the black and it will change. Okay, so this is looking pretty weird. So go and just try to understand. See, it is not about UI. I'm not here to teach you UI, which is I'm not good at. Okay, so I'm here to teach you React, how the concept is working. Okay, this is all about component. Okay, here everything was loading. Now the one thing which you need to understand is this is a function component. Okay, app is a component where it is containing, it is a kind of function like structure. Like in normal JavaScript, what we used to do is function, name of the function, bracket, if we are to pass the parameter, and this is a function. This is what the structure of function. See, this is, but this is not a function. See, the color of this function is blue, and it is, if you hover on this, it is calling it is a JSX element. Okay, so you don't need to explicitly change the name of file to the .jsx. Okay, that is not needed. Okay, so this is JSX element which we have used in JavaScript file, and if you hover on it, so it is a normal function. Spelling wrong again. Function. Fine. Okay, it has changed now. Fine, fine. So I guess that was a spelling mistake. But if you hover on it, it will call it as a function void. Okay, and if you hover on it, it will call it as JSX element. Okay, that's the difference. Okay, so not the color difference. Okay, and now so I don't need to. There is no error actually, so it will work. So I just need to save, and code will. This is the node is running in the backend, and it is updating, it is looking for the changes, and once I hit save button, it is reloading and it is loading my changes. Okay, so that is all about component. Okay, now let's go and understand. Now let me just show you if I wanted to render something which is not there. Okay, so let's take an example, like we might have seen somewhere in the previous slide. Let's pass the let's try to create this kind of component. Okay, so I can copy it. Let me okay, so it's 7:59. I have joined there. So just go and do what the copy this everything, not everything. Actually, first two lines you don't need to this. Copy this, take a screenshot, copy it, and use this welcome over here. Okay, over here. Okay, after P, use the welcome. The way we have used welcome, and pass the parameters whatever we have, and create that welcome function welcome. Okay, and then just try to understand what it will return. Okay, so the same sort of return needs to be there, and it will return that data over there. Okay, so now okay, it is having issues. If you face issues, click on concept and inspect element, and there you will get to know there are a couple of issues. Okay, invoke failed, so just put nothing was written, that's why it is the error. Okay, so you need to return something, then only it will work. Okay, so this is about React props. Any questions into this? Yes, any questions? We calling it using it? Yes, no, perfect. Go and try and implement go and try and implement this React props, and we will learn the concept which is left is React state we will learn tomorrow. Is that okay? Yeah, that's all for the day, guys. I want all of you and today I'm really happy 30 of you were there from the beginning, and 30 of you, please send the code. Just try to take the screenshots. I can't send code, I haven't done any sort of code yet. Okay, I want you to type with your hands so that you will become better. Don't have the habit of copying and pasting. Okay, see, look at it and paste, type it there. Okay, so nothing, so then only you will become a developer. Okay, so fine, that's all for the day. Keep learning, keep amplifying.